Welcome to Sidebar, where you vote on the internet's biggest buttholes. Am I the butthole for not allowing my disabled neighbor to park in my driveway and getting her car towed? Despite the previous owner allowing it, I bought a house a few months ago and moved in last month. The previous owner was a friendly old man that could no longer live alone, so he decided to sell and move in with his daughter. Just to be clear, I put disabled in quotation marks because the lady in question is just really overweight, and I am not sure if that counts as disabled. Now apparently he had been allowing use of his driveway to his disabled neighbor lady largely because street parking is extremely limited, and what little street parking there is pretty much instantly occupied. What I am saying is, unless you have a driveway, you end up having to park a good 5-minute walk away, and that's the best case scenario. Obviously I was unaware of this, so I was surprised to see a large SUV parked in my driveway when I moved in. I ended up having to knock on several doors asking whose car it was because the movers could not stand still on the busy road too long. I figured out it was the neighbor's car, so after a good 10 minutes of knocking, an extremely angry, enormous lady opened the door. I told her to move the car, and she immediately started arguing that the neighbor said it was fine. I told her he moved out. I moved in and knew it is not fine and to move it because the movers need to unload my stuff. She begrudgingly did. I ended up seeing her walking back half an hour later completely wet with sweat. Now a few days later I went back to work, and lo and behold, the SUV is parked in my driveway again. I go over there again, spend 20 minutes knocking on the door before this lady opens the door. Again, visibly angry, I tell her to move her car. My driveway is not public parking. She protests, saying her ankles can't take walking the distance and claims I can easily walk. I tell her that while that might be true, it's my goddamn driveway and I want to park there myself. Again she moves her car. Again I spot her half an hour later drenched in sweat making her way home. Well, it happened again a week ago, and this time she would not open her door. I got tired of it and had her SUV towed. She of course came to my house to scream at me. I told her to get the heck off my property. A few days later I had a small fence installed with a lock on it to make sure it did not happen again. I have since been getting dirty looks from her and one other neighbor, and when I told my mom, she told me I should be nicer to people. I do feel sort of bad too. She clearly struggles with the walk after all. Is the poster a butthole or not? Reddit says, not a butthole, plain and simple. She should get a handicap spot designated for her if it really is that much of an issue. Would I be the butthole for not paying for my son's art college? I, 52M, have one son, 17M, and one daughter, 30F. My daughter graduated from her local university with a master's degree in bushiness and has a small startup that has grown quite tremendously. She is engaged and the major breadwinner in her relationship, which makes me quite proud. My son, on the other hand, he is less academically interested. Throughout high school he wanted to take only art and music courses. I didn't allow him to, and unfortunately had to resort to the my house, my rules. However, he says now that he is going to uni, he doesn't have to listen to me, and that he'll move out to one of his friends if I try the my house, my rules crap, as he calls it. He says that he is going to an art uni, and that he has already sent out applications to several and gotten offers. So I did the only thing I could, revoking my offer of paying for his university. It breaks my heart, but I feel like I have no choice. I told my son that either he gets a degree that will enable him to have a good chance at getting a job he can live off of, or he can find some other way to pay. My son was understandably peeved when I told him this. He called me a shitty father and stormed off to his room. Before you flood the comments with "you're the butthole," hear out my reasoning. I did the same thing my son wants to do. Got an art degree against the wishes of my parents. I was young and excited, but it was not to be. Art and music weren't paying my bills, and I got into astronomical debt. Then I was evicted from my apartment, and I was homeless for a year. I had to drag myself back to my parents and beg them to pay for me to go to uni again, this time to get a business degree. I got one, graduated again, and got an office job, and worked hard until I got promotions. Then I met my late wife, and we had the kids. So you see, I just don't want my son to make the same mistakes I did. I want him to be able to hold his head high, knowing he can pay his own way and start a family if he so pleases. I don't want to be controlling, but he needs to put his head on straight and do what's best for him. So Reddit, am I the butthole for this? Is OP a butthole? Narnia Asriel has a clear verdict. You the butthole. You're controlling and it sounds like you've been this way for a long time. It doesn't matter that you failed at your art career. Maybe he'll succeed, maybe he'll fail. But being forced to study something he has no interest in won't help him, and having to take on a bunch of debt to follow his dream also won't help him. You're in the process of destroying your relationship with your son just because you think your limited life experience makes you the expert on everything. Am I the butthole for being bothered by the smell during my GF special time? A little context. I am 34, have always had a very sensitive sense of smell, especially to unpleasant odors. They really bother me. I think I might be a super smeller or something. Anyways, this causes issues when my GF F25 is having her special tie of the month. I understand that it is something that girls have to do, but when she does it, it leaves a bothersome odor in the bathroom that bothers me. It isn't that she doesn't keep herself clean. I never have to see anything gross or anything, but I can still smell it. I tried talking to her about it nicely, but she just got all upset and defensive about it, even though I tried to say it as gently as I could. Maybe because it was her special time of the month. She said that she can't even smell anything but I can, and it really grosses me out. Later, when finally calmed herself down, I offered a very reasonable compromise. I asked if she could use the bathroom in the pool house during her special time. It wouldn't really be that inconvenient for her. It is just outside across a small lawn, only about 20 feet away once you get outside. She got all mad again and said that if I didn't like it I could use the pool house bathroom, but I told her that that didn't seem fair since I wasn't the one stinking up the bathroom. Why should I be the one who has to go outside all the time? She is still mad at me, but I think she is being unfair. She doesn't understand how much the smell bothers me. Some of our friends say that I am the AH though, so now I'm not sure. What do you think, Reddit? Is the poster a butthole or not? Reddit says this. Yes, a butthole. Simply because you call it the special time and refer to women as girls. Between that, the age gap, and this whole situation, you come across as the world's biggest creep. Am I the butthole for refusing to go back after my boyfriend gave my deceased boyfriend's cat to his sister? I have 24 have a cat named Mandy that my deceased boyfriend had before he passed away from lung cancer 3 years ago. I moved out of town and I took her with me. We have a lot of memories together with her. She reminds of him a lot, and I feel like he's closer to me whenever she's around. I work and study, and I'd have some friends watch her when I'm busy. My boyfriend that I've been seeing for over a year said it was fine if I brought her to stay at his place. I already told him that she was mine and deceased boyfriend's cat, and he said nothing except when someone asks about her he tell them she was adopted by me, which is not true, and refuses to tell them her story. I didn't pay attention to that even though it made me uncomfortable. But he started talking about wanting to get a dog and that she needs to go. I told him that if she goes then I go as well and that he can get a dog. I was stopping him. He argued with me about not wanting to be responsible for her whatsoever and agreed to take care of her myself. He then started taking her with him whenever he visits family and friends. Takes pictures of her for FB saying he was wrong about her and wanted to take care of her. He said he wanted to visit his sister's house, which is 4-hour drive, and that I should let him take my cat with him so I can focus on work and studying. I agreed to let him take her with him even though it was a long distance. 2 days later he came back without her and told me that his sister got hung up on my act and wanted her to stay for a week. I was speechless. I started yelling at him, asking him how he let her keep my act. He tried to convince me that she'll adapt, especially his sister has other cats as well. I told him she belongs to my deceased boyfriend, and he got mad because I mentioned this and said that he'll go back after a week to get her back if I stop mentioning my decreased boyfriend. I argued with him, then I went back to my family's house. I couldn't even focus on studying and he called wanting me to come back, saying he couldn't say no to his sister. But I refused to go back until she returns. It's been over a week now and nothing happened. Did OP act like a butthole? Here's what Reddit thinks. I will have my cat back by the end of the day tomorrow, or I will contact the police and file theft charges. This relationship is over. Do not make me have you arrested because nothing would make me happier at this point. Not the butthole. Am I the butthole for wanting my wife to prioritize my family traditions? I, 34, and don't think I'm the butthole. But my mom said I'm lucky my wife, 32F, didn't crack me over the head with a frying pan, and my friend said I was being a dipshit. Thanksgiving is a big deal in my family. My wife is a pediatric nurse on a cancer ward, and works every other year, and it's 12-hour shifts. So even if she does stop by, it's somewhat late. This year it's her year to work. My dad mentioned to me over the weekend that they found it disrespectful that she only came every other year. I reminded him she was a nurse, but he said she knew how important Thanksgiving was to our family and how she should work something out because our traditions are her traditions now. I agreed with that. I mentioned trying to get every Thanksgiving off to my wife, and she said it didn't work that way schedule-wise, and that even if she could get this year off, that would mean she'd have to give up Christmas, and that's the holiday that's a big deal in her family. I told her that since she married me, my family's traditions should be more important to her. She got pretty aggravated at that, and walked away from me. I called to tell my parents and my mom flipped out. Apparently, only my dad thinks that and my mom thinks I should go grovel for forgiveness for suggesting such stupidity. The thing is, I do kinda agree with my dad. My mom called my wife to apologize for her behavior and let her know she'd save her a plate if she wanted to stop by after work. I'm aggravated at my mom and feel like she should have butt out because I don't think this is an unreasonable request. So, am I the butthole for wanting my wife to prioritize my family traditions? Is OP a butthole? Dealbreaker Stock Show has a clear verdict. Yes, a butthole. Bruh. Your wife works in a pediatric cancer ward. She spent years in school to have a career where she loses so much of her personal time in order to care for dying children. And your dumbass dad somehow interprets this as being disrespectful. Thank goodness for your mom, because the men in your family are dumb as rocks. Finally, here's our headline story of the day. Am I the butthole for refusing to name our daughter Karen? My wife and I recently found out we're having a daughter. We hadn't really talked about names before, but we both agreed that each of us will retain veto power. When we did start discussing names, both of us wanted to name her after our late mothers. Her mom's name was Karen and my mom's name was the meme. I told her the baby can take my mom's name as her first name and her mom's name as a middle name, or have an entirely different name. But I can't okay Karen as a first name in any case. She got offended because she just wants to honor her mother and thinks I have a problem with that. I just don't want to set our daughter up to be bullied throughout her life. I told her I'd be fine with whatever first name she picks as long as it doesn't lead to the baby being picked on later in life. But she's pretty insistent on Karen. Is the poster a butthole or not? Reddit says this. Not the butthole. It was a normal name. Now it's a joke. Imagine baby Karen. People are gonna make jokes all her life. Now it's your time to vote on the buttholeness of the headline story. Is the poster a butthole? Let us hear your thoughts. Go to the pinned comment under this video. Please hit the thumbs up on the reply of YDA. You are the butthole if you think the OP could have been nicer. Or press thumbs up on the reply saying NTA. Not the butthole if you are on the same side as OP. Feel free to leave your opinion and reason why you voted for the option you did in the comments section. And join the discussion. For more buttholes, subscribe to Sidebar.